everybody. Here we go!
In case of emergency, the exits are here, anywhere.
Keep your hands and arms inside the carpet.
Name is Hades, Lord of the Dead. Hi, how you doing? We dance, we kiss, we schmooze, we carry on, we go home happy. What do you say? Come on.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Welcome, Ohana, to the Disney Guys Uncensored. This is episode 47, recorded on February 9th, 2020. We're your hosts, Drew and Bob, and on tonight's episode, we celebrate the week of Valentine's Day by exploring the fascinating world of the Disney princesses. So come, journey with us as we once again invite our Ohana to join us in our virtual roundtable. So, before we let's just head right over to BuzzTube and introduce who's joining with us.
Hey, Gord! Gord!
If I can just find...
Gord! Oh, there you are.
All right, guys, welcome to BuzzTube. And like I said, we are joined by three very special Ohana members. Isaac Gonzalez, thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm really glad to be here. I've been listening to the show since the very beginning.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've been super active. You are our guy out west. We love to hear from you about Disneyland trips, and we try to share some Disneyland information for you. So definitely excited about that. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from exactly, and any other interesting things you want to share?
Sure. Well, like I said, I'm in Sacramento, California. I'm actually a native of Sacramento, and I do a lot of community work here. Locally, I'm the president of our Lego club, and so I spend a lot of time building stuff, including Disney Lego. Awesome. My daughter is about to be 9, and my little guy is 4. And my daughter has actually gone to 5 Disney trips in her young life.
Wow.
She's very, very lucky. And I never had gone to Disneyland as a child, and then never went before I took my daughter. So I've been to 6 Disney trips because in 2018, I got to go to China. So you know what I was going to do? I stopped at Disneyland Shanghai and had a great time there, too. So I've been to 3 parks. I've been to Disneyland, Disney World, and Disneyland in Shanghai.
I mean, I try to count that as like 7 parts. But who's counting?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Good to hear. So out of all the, let's call it 7. Let's call the 7 parts. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite?
Wow. It's so hard to say. I would say that Disneyland is magical. Mm-hmm. Disney World is awesome, and there's so much more to do there. And Shanghai was just such a surreal experience to be on the other side of the world and be at something so familiar yet so alien because everything's just a little different. Mm-hmm. But I mean, altogether, I'd have to say Disneyland. Disneyland is our go-to.
Awesome. And now, do you go there a couple times a year, or I mean?
I'm embarrassed to say that we've gone a lot more than we ever planned to, but we've just kind of, and I'm using air quotes, spur of the moment, decide to go, and we don't, just get in the car and go, but we'll actually make a trip plan just because, something's opening and we want to get ahead of the crowd, or hey, there's not as much of a crowd as we thought. It's not a good time to go sneak in another trip. And it's worked out that we've gone a bunch, and so we just went actually the week between Christmas and New Year's. It was my wife's birthday. That's what she wanted to do. And we were there at some capacity days, which we had never done before. But, thanks to your show and the fact that my wife and I are great planners, we did everything we wanted to do during capacity days at the parks with Fast Pass, Max Pass, rope drop, just single rider, just knowing how to really navigate it. And we're walking through the park, right? We're walking through the park on New Year's Eve. It is capacity at 1 p.m. and I'm looking at these poor people with buttons that say first time. What they're doing with stars in their eyes and just going you have no business being here, folks. It would be miserable if that was my first trip. But
you never go back.
Yeah, we've got it all figured out, and a lot of it's thanks to you guys. And like we said, we started listening to you all because we were planning our first Disney World trip when you guys launched the show, and you guys really helped us through that. So I appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, on that topic, how did you find us?
Reddit. It was a Reddit post in either Disneyland or Disney World or Disney Parks subreddit where someone just posted, "Hey, I'm making a podcast," and I'm like, "Oh, another shameless self-promotion for another podcast. This is what the world needs." And I listened to it and I loved it. It was great, and I've been hooked ever since.
That's cool. That's awesome. Thank you for that. So here's another tough question for you. Out of all these parks, all these attractions, what's your favorite?
Well, I'm going to go here with a show favorite, and that'd be the Tiki Room. My very favorite.
Wow. Wow.
I love the Tiki Room.
Hope you didn't listen to us last week then.
I did. I was groaning a little bit. No, I really do like the Tiki Room for whatever reason. It's just so kitsch. It's so classic. It's so funny. But when we were in Disney World, my favorite second favorite ride, I guess, would be the Carousel of Progress. I really love that.
That's well done. I like that.
I was singing it out loud. I screamed in the house. I'll just be in the house and I'll just start screaming. It's a great big beautiful tomorrow. And
I mean, it's catchy. It's catchy. I'm not
a good song. So I really like that stuff. As much like the thrill rides, and I love all the tech, and I really love everything about the parks. But I also like the history. So I love the Imagineers. Oh, that show was great, and just all the behind the scenes stuff. I can't get enough of that old stuff.
That's awesome. All right, and the last one is favorite Disney movie.
Oh, really, really tough. I'd have to go with, strangely enough, Little Mermaid. I was just the right age. I was like 8 when that movie came out, saw it in the theaters, and it was probably the thing that really said, wow, this is what I like this stuff. And even to this day, like if it's on, I'm watching it.
That's awesome.
Even though like once you pick it apart, you realize like it's a terrible like idea. Like why is the 16-year-old marrying a stranger?
True,
yeah.
True, but it works.
Yeah.
And then as we ask every guest on the show, what's your favorite type of Disney Guys Uncensored episodes?
I really like the breakdowns, the planning. That's really good. But also like if you guys do like a ride breakdown or a history, that's all that stuff's really good. I like information. I like to have this data, at my finger, in my mind when I go to things. Like I know how this is instead of trying to figure it out. That's why I'm a little leery to go to a non-Disney park because I just don't know enough, and I feel like I would just be like, I don't know what's going on, and I can't have a good time unless I know exactly. Like when I walk through a Disney park now, I'm like, I know where this is, I know where that is, I know what's around this corner, I know where the good bathroom is. I love knowing all this stuff. So whenever you guys give me information, I can't get enough of it.
Awesome, good. Well, appreciate all the cool feedback, and excited to see what your answers are a little bit later in the show. So, second guest is the Ohana famous winner of the Ohana logo contest itself, and the amazing man behind our current amazing red logos that we can't thank enough. Greg Cook, thank you welcome to the show. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to finally get a chance to talk with you guys about Disney.
Absolutely, yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, however in depth you want to go or where you're from or whatever you feel comfortable with.
So originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and moved out to Washington, D.C. Right after college. Thought I would be there a year and then moved back. And I've been out in this area, 15 years now. So, plans change, I guess. I'm a graphic designer, so that was kind of what drew me to the logo design competition. I've always kind of been interested in kind of creating logos and things like that. And what I do for a living now is I do exhibit design, so I create these experiences that people go to. So being in the parks is like kid in the candy shop for me.
Absolutely, that's awesome. All right, so speaking of parks and some of the other stuff, what is your favorite Disney park?
I would have to say it's Animal Kingdom. I think it's just a nice balance of, the thrill rides versus the shows. And then you have that whole other aspect of the live animals that you can see and interact with. And, it drives my wife crazy. But if I had my choice of what we would do on any vacation, it would be going to a zoo. And she doesn't share that same thought that I do.
I feel the same way. That's pretty awesome, Madrid. The next one here, what is your favorite Disney attraction?
So I have two. Pirates of the Caribbean is like my all-time favorite classic ride. The last time that I went, my son, who was I think 2 at the time, we went there at the end of the day, and we probably rode that 6 or 7 times in a row.
Oh, that's cool.
got off, ran right back around and went back on it, and he loved it. But Flight of Passage, speaking of Animal Kingdom, that was the game changer for me. That, I didn't know what that was going in, and when I came off, I felt like a child again. Like when I was on that ride, I couldn't even explain it.
Agreed. That's some of the funnest and coolest things, when a lot of us have been to Disney so many times, and when you go to Disney and you get onto an attraction that you've never been on, and regardless, like even like Rise of Resistance, for example, if you try to stay away, you don't want to know about it, then when you actually do go on it, it's amazing to see something that, you love so much, but yet you never experienced. Well, I agree. Flight of Passage is absolutely amazing. All right, next one here. What is your favorite Disney movie?
So I'm going to go off the beaten path with this. I grew up with a lot of the old Disney, and when I say old, I mean like the 40s, 50s, 60s, like that era of movies. And there's a movie called Blackbeard's Ghost, and I can't explain it. It's a weird movie, but I love it, and I watch it, at least twice a year. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but
so
essentially,
I'm not, but I'm a historian. Bub here. Bub, help me out.
It's been a while. Once when I was very young, I think I had seen. It is on Disney Plus, I believe. So something you can check out if you have Disney Plus.
I will say it was the first thing I watched when I got Disney Plus. Essentially, there's a guy who moves into a small town up in New England, and through a bit of misfortune, happens across the ghost of this dead pirate, and has to save this group of women, their house that they live in, from being foretaken by this villainous mobster. So if hopefully I've done justice to make you intrigued enough to watch it. Otherwise, I could just say Toy Story is my favorite.
That's awesome. No, I mean, it definitely sounds intriguing. I'll have to look into it. Absolutely. And then the last two questions, like we said, we asked every guest is, how did you come across the Disney Guys? How did you find us?
So like Isaac, I had never been to a park until I was an adult. I've actually only been to the parks, I think 3 times. This year is going to be my 4th time. And I really wanted to be prepared for this trip. And that was last year because I knew I was going to be coming a year later. So I was just kind of looking around for podcasts about Disney and happened upon you guys. And, it just happened to be the one that I checked out, and I didn't even bother checking out any other ones after that.
Oh, that's awesome. Appreciate that. Absolutely. And then what's your favorite types of episodes or a favorite episode?
So again, like Isaac, I really like the information ones. I happen to really like the Random House of Mouse where Bubba has gone into a lot of detail on some of the specifics of rides or attractions. I'm really interested in the history of things, how they came together, the behind the scenes things. So those are always my favorite ones.
Awesome. That's great. See, Bub, people do love the Spotlight.
People like Spotlight. Maybe we should bring it back.
I think we should. All right. Well, thanks, Fred, so much. I'm excited also to hear some of your answers a little bit down the line. And then last but not least, our third Ohana member joining us tonight is everyone should know her by now. Thank you for filling in for us tonight, Jordana. Again, welcome back. It seems to be a reoccurring theme for you.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. It's like I'm family, right?
It's right. So I'm not going to ask you all the same questions because I feel like you've given us a lot more information about yourself in the past. But right. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to say, tell us something that we don't know about you.
Oh, boy. Something... Oh my
she
God,
likes to spend obscene amount of money on ice cream.
Ice cream. Oh my God, yeah. So I actually I went to, and I was joking about this before the show. So I went grocery shopping with my husband, and I went down the ice cream aisle, and I found the Mickey Mouse ice cream bars, and I'm not the bars, the sandwiches. And I was like, oh my God, I need these. I'm getting them. I want to try them. And my husband goes, they're $7. Like, you're really going to buy those? And I'm like, yes, I'm buying them. I don't care how much they are. They're going to taste like magic. And then I got home and I got it, and I literally tried to open one up. He was like, why don't you eat dinner first? I'm like, because I'm an adult and I'm going to do what I want. And so I and I'm so upset because I absolutely hate them and I want to return them, but we've already eaten 2, so that's not possible.
There's something about eating the Mickey ice creams in the park that make it magical. You bring them back home. I actually am boycotting all of them because it's not the same. No. Save that moment for the park.
You boycott them. More ice cream sandwiches for me.
No. I'm more like, I'll go, everybody always goes for the bar, and I'm more of a sandwich person. So this, when it came out, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then Absolutely. I got it. I'm like, every bit of disappointment is hitting me right now.
All right. Well, thank you.
Bad show, Jordana. Disney podcast.
That's true. Right. And excited to hear some of your answers too down the line. And again, the 3 of you guys, thank you. Like we said, we try to do this round table every once in a while we can and bring some of you guys, the listeners, on the show and talk about just a fun topic that everyone can kind of relate to. So we have a doozy for you. But before there, we have a couple small news items that happened over the last week that we want to get to. So let's head on over to the Disney News Desk.
And as always, the Disney News Desk is brought to you by Patreon producer Jordana Izzo, who is with us tonight, from Travelmation and authorized Disney Vacation Planner. Some breaking news from the travel industry, as Travelmation has just been awarded earmarked platinum status with Disney destinations. Platinum status has only been given to 8 agencies in the entire world. After guiding tens of thousands of guests, Disney has granted Travelmation with this incredible distinction. When you book with Travelmation, you are booking with the best. So thank you so much for trusting Jordana and the team at Travelmation to create magical Disney vacations for you and your family. And as always, imagine stress-free vacation planning by a Disney expert for free. That's what you get when you use the preferred travel agency of the Disney Guys Uncensored. Email Jordana today at JordanaIzzo@travelmation.net and be sure to tell her the Disney Guys sent you.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. And like I said, a couple small, medium-sized news bits this week. So the first one, Magic Kingdom is introducing a new photo experience called Capture Your Moment, which will allow guests to capture extra special moments in the park. This experience lets guests book extra time with PhotoPass photographers for a personalized photo session during regular park hours at Magic Kingdom, all in view of Cinderella's castle. The photo session lasts up to 20 minutes, costs around $50, and these new sessions actually start February 10th. So by the time you're hearing this, this should now be a new perk in the park. Reservations for Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is the new multi-day vacation experience is coming to Walt Disney World Resort, which will open, which the reservations will happen later this year and anticipated to open in 2021. We talked about this during the D23 episodes. It's pretty much, think of a cruise on land is the best way to describe it, but if you want a lot more info, you can go back and listen to one of our old episodes and has all the information there. I think it's episode 23 or 24. FastPass Plus are now available for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which opens March 4th. Joins Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and Slinky Dog Dash in Tier A or Tier 1 at Disney's Hollywood Studios. CityWorks Eatery and Poorhouse is now officially open on the west side at Disney Springs. It's billed as Disney Springs' premier sports restaurant and bar. Sounds like my cup of tea, folks. It aims to offer the ultimate viewing experience with its high-definition TVs, including a video wall housing 168-inch high-definition video screen, complemented by 4 110 inches TV screens. So it has up to 90 local, regional, and global craft beers on draft. Yeah, this is my place to be. If I lived in the area, I'd be there every Sunday for some football and just to hang out at night. So that's going to wrap up this week's news, and let's get on over to this most anticipated topic of the week.
Yes, hello everybody. We have kicked around a princess idea episode for maybe a couple of months now. We originally had evolved this episode from an idea of doing a couples episode on Valentine's Day, for Valentine's Day. And the more we kicked it around, we said, it's more, maybe we do just a straight princess episode. And then we asked Isaac and Greg and Jordan if they wanted to come on, and I don't know that we really told them the topic until like midweek of last week. So we kind of sprung it on them. Of course, what we're going to do here is similar to what we did on a roundtable with Disney Plus. We have a series of questions, and I will kind of throw it around the horn. And we'll just, talk about the princesses and various things about princesses. We should mention that we've, much to Greg and Isaac's chagrin, we have added things right up until showtime today, so it may be a little disjointed. We do, also, we are not including Elsa in tonight's episode because she is in fact a Disney queen. In the interest of full disclosure, there were a couple others on that list that we actually removed and put into the questions. So, let's just get right into it because this is going to be fun. Jordana, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm probably going to start with you every time as a ladies first type thing. So the first question we want to know is the favorite Disney princess that you have. Now, we're going to run it down for you. I'll give you the options. Snow White, Aurora, Cinderella, Jasmine, Belle, Tiana, Rapunzel, Elena of Avalor, Giselle, which is actually from Enchanted, Moana, Merida, Mulan, Pocahontas, Ariel, and then here's where we kind of get crazy. Princess Tiger Lily, Anna, Kida from Atlantis, and Princess... oh, crap, Andrew. Go ahead. What's her name?
I don't know. Ellen Wee?
Yeah, she's from your favorite movie there, the Black Cauldron there.
I believe it's Ellen Wee. I could be
There
wrong.
we go. All right. Well, either way, I can't pronounce it, and if somebody picks her tonight, maybe they can shed some light on it. So, Jordana, who is your favorite Disney princess?
My favorite Disney princess is Belle from Beauty and the Beast. And I've always liked her from the beginning of the movie where she's her own person and she doesn't take crap from anybody. While all the village people are, singing to her and telling her how weird she is, she's just not taking it. So I've always just liked Belle, and she's my favorite princess, and that's
Well, when you compare her to Maurice, she doesn't look crazy at all.
No, not at all.
Hey, Belle's an excellent pick. She is a very strong princess, and
remember when your brother picked Maurice as the best character of the 90s?
It's a good pick. It's a sleeper pick. It's a sleeper pick. Is it any worse than picking Hopper?
No, it's not.
Okay. All right. So we are going to move east to west this round. So, Greg, who do you like? Who's your favorite Disney princess?
I went new school with Moana. And, as much as I've enjoyed kind of all of these stories, I think hers was it was a fresh story. And what I really liked about her is her character arc isn't tied to falling in love with a prince. She kind of was the master of her own journey.
I like that.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent point. In fact, I will tell you, there's quite a few instances on this list that I had that same thought with a lot of different things. Like, oh man, Moana is, as a character, like you're saying, very independent, very strong-willed. So that's an excellent pick. If I had a daughter, I may want her to grow up a little bit like Moana, So that is a good pick. I know I did say east to west, but in fact, Andrew, as the co-host, he will go next. So Isaac, I'll let you tell us your pick for favorite Disney princess.
Yeah, thanks. Belle is up there for me for sure, and I really like that movie. I got to say really quick that I really don't appreciate the beautification of Belle in merchandising post-movie. Like in the movie, she's just very smart and very normal shape, but in every princess piece of merchandise, she becomes more and more about makeup and less about books, which I think is really, really not true to her character. But hands down for me, and I'm living vicariously through my daughter, my favorite princess is Princess Tiana. Not only is she just a great character and is it a great movie, but for me, it's the last traditionally drawn animation film from Disney Studios, and when you watch it today, you realize how much how great it would be if they would just go back and make another one of those, because it really is just a terrific film. And while she's my favorite princess, I will just say too that it sucks that for most of the movie she's not actually a human being.
Correct. I do agree. I do agree with that statement. And if like you said, you've listened, you know that I rave about everything about Princess and the Frog. So you'll never get pushback from me on picking Tiana or anything from Princess and the Frog on this show. So, Andrew, what about you, bud?
I mean, Princess Tiger Lily's jumping out at me, but
I know it was a late edition.
No, I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm gonna have to say Anna. I mean, I think she's awesome. I think it's her fun little personality type thing. I think she's a go-getter, and big Anna fan. I'm a Frozen
Does it
guy.
have anything to do with your celebrity crush voicing Anna?
No. I mean, it may.
That is next level. That's well done.
It could unknowingly, Jordana, but I'm gonna go with just her personality. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Anna.
You're a personality guy. I hear that about you.
Well, if you wanted to go by looks, I mean, I maybe would choose somebody else, but I didn't think that was what we're all about tonight.
So if she went by looks, let's play. If she went by looks, would it be Jasmine?
This is dangerous.
No, absolutely not. I think I'd have to go down into the Belle range. Good looking woman or a teenager. I don't know. They're all too young. That's kind of odd for me to say.
Yeah, no, that's true. In fact, I looked that up. But by definition, and this is officially, obviously, Elsa is considered the oldest, despite her not being a princess. She's, I think, 21 at the time of the second movie. The rest of them are all 19, I think. Cinderella and I forget who it was.
No, Merida's going to be like 13.
No, I said oldest, not youngest. I said oldest. It's Cinderella and one other, like 19 years old, are the oldest. So you're right. It's awkward to ask who your hottest Disney princess is. So that's why we didn't put it on the list. For me, Isaac, no doubt, it is Tiana. She's incredible in every way. I 100% agree with you. I will give a shout out to Rapunzel. I do love Rapunzel in a lot of ways, as you'll find out later in this list. Perhaps next question, but I will tell you that Tiana for me is just everything that's right about a Disney princess, and I have no disrespect for anyone else that picked here. In fact, it's a really good list of characters. Every one of them is a really great character, and you can see that the animators cared about what they were doing when they drew a lot of these characters. So that it's a good point, and I'll tell you, I'm glad to find someone else that appreciates Princess and the Frog for what it is. So
there you go, Bob. Youngest princess on the list is Snow White at 14.
Yeah, that's creepy. So that's weird.
Wow,
just my business. I mean, how old's Merida? Did you look that up?
She's 16.
Is she not considered? Well, she's from the other studio, so she's weird. Nobody understands her, and that is a Ralph Breaks the Internet joke for everybody at home that is interested in knowing it. So we're gonna go to number 2 now. Our favorite animated princess movie. We have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Moana, Brave, Mulan, Pocahontas, The Little Mermaid, Frozen, and I added Atlantis if only because Kida is a pretty substantial character in the second half of that movie. I actually just watched it with the kids earlier this weekend, and it's a decent movie, I'll be honest, but I felt it warranted inclusion on the list because it's kind of she's an important aspect of that movie. So not necessarily a straight princess movie, but a movie that does involve quite a bit of princessing on Kida's part. So let's go reverse order here after Jordana. Jordana, you get first pick, then we'll go to Isaac and Greg.
Okay, so I wanted to pick this because this movie was so ahead of its time. So I picked Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Because this was like the first, you know what I mean? Like it was just the first Disney princess, and it was the first of its kind. And this, I don't know, this changed everything, So I think that is the one that started it all. And for that's why it's my favorite animated one.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you going to argue with me?
I think he is.
No, I don't think this is the one to start a fight on, but my hat's off to you for
what? Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, well done. Good pick. It shocked me.
Now, if you said Sleeping Beauty, we could have had an argument there.
Well, as long as nobody's getting inside Maleficent, we should be fine.
Oh boy, that's good. Penetrate. Okay.
All right. So, Isaac, your favorite Disney princess movie?
You know, I'm really torn here. What I just said about Princess and the Frog, really rings true. And from a quality standpoint, the art is just second to none. Probably because it is that last animated traditional feature, so they had the most talent and most experience altogether. But if I look into my heart, I have to say The Little Mermaid. Again, I was just the right age when that movie came out, and I just still enjoy it to this day. And the new transfers and everything that have come out recently just remind me what an amazingly beautiful movie it is. And like the boat that Prince Eric has, it's CGI. It's really early CGI, but it comes off really well, and it's just a real marvel of a picture.
Absolutely.
I got no complaints about that. I mean, that's a great film. Greg, what do you got there?
Well, admittedly, you almost got me with your late edition because I love Atlantis.
Excellent.
I love that movie so much. But I don't think it is quote unquote a princess movie.
Correct.
So for that reason, I picked Beauty and the Beast, and I may be drawn from recent memory from watching that documentary, Waking Sleeping Beauty. So it's fresh in my mind, but
it's a great documentary.
There's just so much to like about Beauty and the Beast. And, I'm not afraid to say that I'll listen to the soundtrack when I'm driving in the car or when I'm at work. And it's the animation, everything about it is just amazing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Beauty and the Beast was the first and I think only hand-drawn animated movie to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar, which I am skipping the Oscars to be with you guys tonight. I want you to know that I'm heartbroken by this, but
they're not
Beauty and the Beast isn't. Well, if you've seen the movies this year, they are. I think the movies were excellent that they picked. I really recommend Parasite, but that's another story for another day. Let's go. Beauty and the Beast, excellent film. So, Andrew, I've been waiting all week for this because I think I know where you're going after you asked me your questions during the week on why a certain movie wasn't on the list, and now it is there, so I wonder if that's where you go.
Yeah, of course. I'm a Frozen guy. People get angry about Frozen because it stole the spotlight in Disney in a lot of ways, right? But no, Bob, I'm not going there because I think there's some traditional movies like Greg mentioned that kind of just hold to my heart because I grew up in those ways, and same thing with Isaac there. But I'm actually going Aladdin because I love the music. I love everything about it besides I like Jasmine, but she's probably not my favorite in any way, but the movie itself can't go wrong.
I mean, Aladdin's a great film. It is. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about live action films in a little bit, and I will tell you that Aladdin was very high on my list of live action princess movies that I think we liked. The easy way for me to go is obviously Princess and the Frog. It's such I think as close to a perfect Disney movie that we've seen, but I will tell you there is one that stands out just a little bit more to me. That I think when I first saw the preview for Tangled, I was very concerned because I didn't think it looked great, and they kind of took away from. Right. So what happened here with Tangled is they were making Princess and the Frog. They released Princess and the Frog. It doesn't do great. It doesn't do tremendously at the box office. No. And they said, "Oh, we have a princess problem on our hands. We have to start marketing more towards little boys to split the difference and make it a Flynn Rider movie." And you can see some of that in the movie. But for me, Tangled is fantastic, and I just. It was very close for me. It was like a 1A, 1B situation on those two movies. But I don't think there's a bad movie on this list, except maybe I don't love Pocahontas, but I think it's okay. But there's really not a bad movie on this list. So it's Tangled for me. So
that's a great movie, and like I said, the marketing was just so wrong. I had no idea what I was getting into when I watched it, and I was so just impressed and surprised at the quality of everything about it. It's a remarkable movie. It's a great choice. And I will say for me, it was also what what got me out of my Lego Dark Ages. My daughter got the Lego tower, Rapunzel's tower, and that was the first Lego I had built in 20 years, and it awoken an addiction inside me, which I cannot feed to this day.
That's awesome.
Well, that's see, Tangled, bringing people together. I like it. Or selling more Legos. Who knows?
That's right.
On to our next question here. We're going to go favorite sidekick. This is a rather extensive list. I don't know if it's worth mentioning everybody on the list.
Sure.
So I will. All right, we're going to do it. So you can pick any. You can pick any of the dwarfs. Name them if that's your pick. I don't care which one it is. Flora, fauna, or Merryweather. They are listed separately. Jacques and Gus, Bruno, Raja from Aladdin, obviously, Cogsworth, Lemire, or Chip from Beauty and the Beast, Louie and Ray from Princess and the Frog, Pascal from Tangled, Maximus from Tangled, Hey Hey and Pua from Moana, Little Brother and Cricky from Mulan, Miko or Flip from Pocahontas, Sebastian, Scuttle, and Flounder from The Little Mermaid, Olaf and Sven from Frozen, Cookie Farnsworth from Atlantis, Pip from Enchanted, and Gaetan the Moliere from Atlantis. Jordana, what do you got here?
So this was one that I ended up switching last minute with the additions. At first I had Sebastian, but I switched to Olaf because Olaf is literally one of my favorite characters ever. He's so bubbly and positive, and he his humor is it's everything.
He was kind of Forky before Forky, let's be honest.
That is true. Yes. No, I agree with you there. But I just really enjoy his personality, and I just enjoy the positivity that he brings to every line that he has.
Yeah, no complaints here. Yeah, no complaints here. In fact, I'm going to get out of the way here. I picked Olaf for all of those same reasons, so I will open the floor for you guys. Greg, what do you got?
So I originally picked Gus and Jacques from Cinderella. I'm not big on the sidekicks in general. I don't normally think of them oh, that's my favorite. I do think that they kind of elevated a movie that I'm not too crazy about, but I'm going to go dark horse here, and I'm going to pick the mole from Atlantis.
Excellent.
He's not on screen often, but he steals the show when he is, and he
does.
I think traditionally sidekicks are animals, and being that he is the mole, I think he kind of he fits that category.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I tell you,
I like that.
Yeah. Him and Cookie, when I watched the movie this weekend, were fun characters, and I said I have to add them to the list. I can't not put them on the list. So Isaac, what do you have for this one?
Well, I've got another animal that also kind of is a little odd, but also steals the show every time they're on screen, and that's Hey Hey. I love me some. First, yep. I love the voice actor. Is it Andy Tunick? How do you pronounce his last name?
Yeah, Alan Tudyk there. Yep, he's Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball.
Yeah, so many great roles for him. My favorite for him is King Candy. Now that's you die. It's a dark role, right? But he's so great in everything he does. And if you ever watch the behind the scenes when he's doing Hey Hey, he's like, I went to Juilliard for this, which is really funny. But the character itself, Hey Hey, is just great. He basically is always great when he's on screen. I love the fact that he's so different. And Moana saves his life. He's just perfect the way he is. And on a little kind of aside, I bought my best friend, his daughter, and my best friend's girlfriend Hey Hey for Christmas. They were on sale at Target. Buy one, get one free. It's a lot of the robotic ones that are super loud because they came over.
Oh my God. I have that same one. It's incredible.
Yeah, that thing is terrible. They came over to my house. They saw it. They squeezed it. They're like, this is horrible. So I bought each one for Christmas.
That's awesome.
I love me some Hey Hey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Who doesn't like Hey Hey? So Drew, where are you going with this?
I mean, let's be honest. If you had to look at this list and say who is the best created character from comedy, from entertainment, like we talked about, I mean, Olaf has to be one of those characters, right? So obviously I wanted to just be, I don't want to say I'm picking somebody else to be different, but there is another character that that always gives me that chuckle, that always is that comic relief. And I'm talking about Scuttle from Little Mermaid. I mean, guy's awesome. He has that ego of like confidence, yet idiotic. You know, he's a fun little guy. You know,
a dangerous misinformation agent. He could have really hurt some people with his BS.
Oh, absolutely.
Easily.
He's the voice of reason, though.
He's fun. He's a good guy. That's it.
So since you came off of Olaf, and I told you that Olaf was my pick, I would be remiss if I did not mention Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. I love Lumiere, but for me, I mean, it's got to be Olaf. But if I had to pick a second, it'd probably be Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. I love the character. I love just really everything that he represents. He's very suave, and it's just, I like the character. So
great voice talent too.
Yeah. Oh, God, his name escapes me right now.
Gary Oldbatch from Law and Order. Is that?
Yeah, from Law and Order. Yep. So.
Or you could go Sir Ian McKellen, right? Oh no, was he Codsworth? He was Codsworth in the new one.
Yeah, wasn't Ewan McGregor Lumiere?
Yeah, no, it was.
McKellen, Ian was Codsworth.
So I guess, do we have any Star Wars fans here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it would have been a great crossover if Lumiere at one point had said he has the high ground over Cogsworth. I think it would have been fantastic. But that's
so why wasn't Princess Leia on the list?
Ooh.
Because she's there's many reasons why Princess Leia wasn't on the list.
Okay.
Moving on. Question 4. Favorite conscience characters. So here's the thing. I think a lot of you might be screaming at your phone or how you're listening, saying to yourself, you left out Genie, you left out Maui, you left out, Mushu. Don't worry. They're all here on the conscience list. It is Fairy Godmother from Cinderella, Genie from Aladdin, Maui from Moana, Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas, Mushu from Mulan, Grandma Tala from Moana, Mama Odie from Princess and the Frog, Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast, and Grandpappy from Frozen. All really solid characters. I had a tough time with this category, with the exception of Grandmother Willow. So,
we hate that movie.
Jordana, who you got in this one?
So this one, I had to go with Genie from Aladdin. He literally... He steals the show. He's, he brings, and I think this with the live action one as well as the animated one, he's the full conscience for Aladdin, and he's making a lot of decisions for him, obviously, and just kind of his voice of reason. So I had to go with Genie. Plus, Robin Williams did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody on this panel is going to complain about you picking Genie. I can't even find fault with that. So well done. Well, good pick there. A safe pick, but a good pick. Greg.
See? I didn't know we were being safe, guys.
Yeah.
I was just trying to answer the question.
Greg, where are you leaning, Greg?
I will tell you that I am silently crying inside at the hatred for Pocahontas, but that's a conversation for another day.
Oh boy.
I also went with Genie from Aladdin, specifically from the animated one, and I am not a huge Robin Williams fan. I think he's a little bit over the top, but it was absolutely perfect for this role. So I agree with Jordana.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to argue with that pick. It's he's everything about that movie. If you really think about it, he is the puppet master. He's the conscience of that character. And I offbeat before we get to Isaac, I will tell you that I really tried hard to get Jiminy Cricket on this list because that's what he is.
Literally,
but I just couldn't find a way to make Pinocchio into a princess movie.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, if you're arguing with us on why Jiminy Cricket is not on the list, that is the reason why. This is princess movie specific. So Isaac, where are you leaning?
Well, Genie is obviously the go-to, and it makes a lot of sense because that character really does carry that movie. But I'm going to go a little bit different here and go with Maui. You put The Rock into a Disney movie and you really worry about how much it's just going to be overbearing or out of character. But it really just, The Rock becomes Maui, Maui becomes The Rock. I don't know where it starts or where it ends, but it's a great character. Great songs, and really his journey, where he really discovers who he is also pretty awesome. That he's Moana's conscience and Moana's his conscience, so it's kind of a very cyclical relationship, and I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good pick, and I was hesitant to put Maui on there because he isn't the traditional conscience character, but the more you watch that movie, the more he is a spiritual guide, and maybe that would have been a better topic for this question is spiritual guide. But really, Maui's an excellent pick, and like you said, The Rock just crushes that role. So, Drew, what about you, bud?
Yeah, no. So I mean, obviously, I mean, Maui's awesome, right? Maui came back and kind of did similar role to what the Genie did so many years earlier, but I mean, there's really, I feel like the last question, the same thing with Olaf. There's really only one answer here, and it is the Genie. I mean, you take the Genie out of that movie, and you think about all these options, right? You take that character out of the movie, what happens to the movie? You take the Genie out of the movie, there's no Aladdin, right? I mean, maybe not.
I mean, he's a central character to the film, so yeah,
agreed.
It's kind of important.
But I have to go 100% Aladdin as well.
Well, thankfully, there's no tie for me to break because I'm going Mushu. I dishonor on you, dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. I love everything about Mushu, and I'm actually secretly, I love Mulan as a movie, and I'm in the minority when I tell you that I'm very excited about the live action coming out in the end of March. So, and I know Mushu is not necessarily in it. I get it, but Mushu for me, in terms of favorite character, I don't know if he's the most important character on this list, but in terms of favorite character from a conscience standpoint, I can't get enough Mushu. I like everything about him. So it could be Eddie Murphy, I think. Could be a lot of Eddie Murphy there, but okay. Yeah, you don't have to agree. That's the beauty of this list. We don't have to agree.
It's kind of annoying.
Surprised none of you want Mrs. Potts. She's such an important character in that movie, Or heaven forbid, nobody went Grandma Tala, who you could argue is a bigger conscience character than Maui to begin with. I'm just saying, these are things that I thought of when I put the list together. Moving right along, we are going to favorite couple. I like
this one.
So we got Snow White and the Prince, Cinderella and Prince Charming, Aurora and Prince Philip, Ariel and Prince Eric, Belle and Beast, because I just don't like Prince Adam, so it is what it is. But Jasmine and Aladdin, Pocahontas and John Smith, Mulan and Li Shang, which again sleeper group there, Tiana and Princess Naveen, Rapunzel and Eugene, Giselle and
that's his name. I know, but who puts that?
Then you have Giselle and Robert Phillip, which took me a very long time to figure out who she ended up with in Enchanted. It was not the prince. It was Robert Phillip, played by Dr. McDreamy there. What the hell's his name? What the hell's his name there? His name, whatever. The guy from that
The guy from Grey's Anatomy?
He's a handsome guy. Great head of hair.
Not bad.
Anna and Kristoff.
Good flow.
Anna and Kristoff and Kita and Milo. So that's obviously from Atlantis. So
I don't think it's that obvious.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Atlantis is a movie, and I know Greg is a big fan. I think it's a movie a lot of people don't know about. Well, maybe they know about it, but they haven't seen it.
Well, I was going to say it's obvious to me.
Yeah.
I like the movie as well.
All right, so I ended up going with Cinderella and Prince Charming because everybody like when you think of Disney love, you think of Cinderella and Prince Charming. Everybody wants their Prince Charming to come and
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's not what I think. They met each other for like 10 minutes and fell in love.
Then he went searching for
pretty much
her.
every one of these movies.
You're not wrong there. You're not wrong there.
I just think, like, you think Disney love, you think Cinderella and Prince Charming, and that's why I had to go with them.
That's an inspired choice, and I'm going to respect the hell out of it. I'm not going to say anything about it. Isaac, who do you have, Isaac?
Well, there's a lot of great choices on here, and I'm pulling towards Tiana and Prince Naveen, but actually, if I really have to think about the journey and the growth on both sides throughout the story and how well they play together, I have to go with Rapunzel and Eugene. It's a really great adventure they get to have. She gets to learn that she shouldn't be so naive and be a little bit more careful. He learns that he should open up and not be so guarded. And by the end, they're both sacrificing each other for one another, and they come out on top. It's a really great couple.
Yeah, again, you get no complaints from me there. Tangled is low-key a great film, and the story they tell is excellent. It's really too bad they marketed it the way they did. But that's another topic for another day. Maybe we'll have you on and we can discuss the issues on Tangled's marketing scheme, which was just awful. I work at a
marketing firm. We should talk about missed marketing opportunities for Disney and looking back and analyzing all that. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be so let's, Andrew, mark it down. Mark it down.
Okay.
Greg, I have an idea based on your answers to this point where you might be leaning on this. Where are you going? Did I get you with this one too? Did I get you with this question too? Is the question.
You did not. I went traditional on this with Belle and Beast. I just love the back and forth of them throughout the movie. Him snapping at her snapping right back, and they just have such a fun back and forth. And I think that they kind of stand above the other couples on the list.
See, I agree, but to Bub's point, if Beast stayed the Beast, I think I may have went that one.
I think I was just having a go there. I mean,
I wasn't.
But here's the thing, and somebody once said this to me. This was actually, believe it or not, a retail guy. I actually used to buy the Jim Shore figures from him, and I had we were talking about Beauty and the Beast and how I liked Beast but didn't like Prince Adam. And he said to me, well, they're the same person. It's just the Beast is a manifestation of Prince Adam's, anger and whatever it was, his avarice and whatnot towards the beggar woman. It was just a part of him that manifested itself. So ultimately, we could go into a psychological discussion of Prince Adam and the Beast not being the same person, but ultimately they are. And I think it's a great pick, and you're absolutely right, Greg. I mean, Belle and Prince Adam / Beast, they do. I mean, that's quite a give and take relationship that they have as well. Similar to Rapunzel and Eugene, they sacrifice a lot for each other in both of those movies. So that's an excellent pick in my opinion. Andrew, what about you?
I'm going to shock the world here a little bit. And,
are you?
It's not that shocker, but I'm going Ariel and Prince Eric. Because
you shocked me there.
I can't. Big fan of Prince Eric. Big fan. And there wasn't many other categories on here that I could, get him involved.
Okay. No, I'll let you finish, and then I'll ask you why you're a big fan.
I mean, there's really not much to finish. I'm a fan of Prince Eric, and yeah.
This is the guy that quote unquote fell in love with Ariel in a day and a half, and then Vanessa shows up and he's in love with her again. And I understand he was under a spell and all that jazz and everything. I get the semantics of the story. Prince Eric, huh?
One of the few people that he's one of the few that took out the villain. Prince Philip did. I guess the Beast did. Aladdin didn't. He cheated with the genie.
Yeah.
John Smith. I don't know who's really the villain.
You could argue that he was part of it, but anyway, moving on. But
all right, so
all right, hey, you're shocking with that. I was stunned at you. I didn't realize your love for Little Mermaid here. I was a little surprised to hear that. So
that's why I threw it out there.
Yeah, obviously for me the answer is Honor and Kristoff. Everything about their relationship is fun to me. Again, a little odd at first when clearly she was quote unquote in love with Hans, and Olaf was we're gonna go kiss Hans. Who is this Hans? And I just think their dynamic over 2 movies. So this is what I'm basing it on. Over 2 movies, their dynamic is a fascinating one to me. Anna is more the aggressor, quote unquote, in the relationship, and maybe I think helps Kristoff find his way a little bit. And I think Kristoff obviously helps Anna find her way, but at the end of the day, I really just love both of those characters, and it was a late edition, and maybe I did that by choice to add them there. But for me, it's got to be Anna and Kristoff, and Frozen is a beautiful movie. Andrew, I know you're a fan of it, but in terms of straight animation and looking at it, it is a beautiful film to watch. But I'm not sure there's any bad choice on this stuff. Maybe Snow White and the Prince they really only know each other for about 12 seconds in that whole film. So, but yeah, I mean that's good. I mean that's similar to Aurora and Prince Philip not really knowing each other either. But we'll explore that in a little bit. Now we're getting to Andrew's favorite category of the night, and his chance to redeem himself in the eyes of one of our listeners. And let's see.
Let me tell you right now, Bob, there will be no redemption tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, excellent.
But you know what? I think this is an opportunity that we should think ahead and do, like, you know what? I know Jordana threw out the idea of doing some type of March Madness thing. Maybe we need to do a March Madness of the villains to redeem and let the listeners decide who the best villains are.
Let's put a pin in it. I like that idea. Similar to Bolt. Let's do that, and we'll go from there.
Alrighty. Maybe we'll do like villains versus heroes type thing in a battle royale type March Madness.
So like one side of the bracket would be heroes, one side of the bracket would be villains. I like that. Not bad. Yeah. Let's discuss that one.
Okay.
Best villain: Queen Grimhild from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, Ursula from The Little Mermaid, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, Jafar from Aladdin, Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas, Shan Yu from Mulan, sleeper right there in the villains battle as well. He had a great showing. Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog, Mother Gothel from Tangled, and then we got Mordu from Brave, Andrew's favorite character ever.
Yes.
Taka from Moana, which I was hesitant, but obviously Taka is the alter ego of Tafiti, so it kind of made sense. Queen Narissa from Enchanted, which, again, if you're sleeping on Enchanted, let me tell you, Enchanted is a legit little film that doesn't get a lot of love or recognition, but it's a quality, well-done, dual live-action hand-drawn animation film. Prince Hans from Frozen, and Commander Rourke from Atlantis. Jordana, go ahead, lead us off.
So, and this one was kind of tough for me because I don't know, like, I try not to pay attention to villains because you always want to root for the hero and you always want to root, like, against the villains. So
I guess you want to do that, but on this show we root for the villains.
Oh,
I know,
absolutely.
Yeah. But, so, I don't know, like, I've never really, like, gotten into it. But, for me, like, my favorite villain was Prince Hans because he tried to take advantage of Princess Anna and literally didn't even care about her, sing a song with her, and then they were going to get married after like an hour.
Hey, I like this plan. I respected it.
It tried, and I mean, because he had so many siblings or so many brothers or whatever, he had no chance in his country, so he had to do this. So I do, like you said, Drew, I do respect his plan. However, I think it was pure evil. So I have to go with Prince Hans on this one.
It's a good one.
So I give you a list of some of the greatest villains in film history. Film history, not just animation history. Film history. And you give us Prince Hans based on political maneuvering.
Prince Hans, that's your pick. Southern Isle.
That's my pick. I'm sticking with it.
You should stand by that one all day and twice on Sundays, Jordana, because who's next? I don't even know what number. Isaac, go ahead. Who do you got? I need to take a minute.
So for me, this is a controversial decision, but I could not choose just one. I have a tie. Dr.
If
Falsier.
one of your ties involves Prince Hans, you're off the show. I'm just letting you know that now.
No, that is not going to be an issue over here in California. So the Shadow Man is an awesome villain. He has great songs, and the very awesome Keith David just really brings him to life with his great voice. Really, really appreciate him. And but then it's tied with Ursula, because Ursula also is a terrific villain, and the animation on Ursula is just, I mean, it's so good you don't notice it, but if you actually look at every tentacle, every movement, her character design off of Divine, the drag queen, everything about her is just really awesome, and a great song in Poor Unfortunate Soul. So between the two of them, I can't pick a favorite. Those are the two. But I would say, too, the villains have the best everything, the best animation, the best character design, the best songs. Yeah. You know, the villains are where it's at. And even if they're not your favorite, even if you're rooting for the heroes, you have to admit that from a storytelling perspective, it really is awesome to be a villain.
Ursula is low key, like, great, like, next level villainy. That's a sleeper pick. In fact, I was crushed there.
Who takes Ursula out there? My boy Prince Eric. That is right.
I guess he stabbed her in the gut. Weird. Prince Eric sucks. Anyway, Greg, who you got here, bud?
Well, first I have to question the legitimacy of this category. How do you not have the Horn King on here if you added in?
Respect that.
Well, that's fair, but here's the thing: we didn't have the Black Cauldron as a princess movie, so it was tough for me, despite Princess, whatever the hell her name is, actually being a princess. I couldn't bring myself to have the Horned King on here again, or risk Andrew going on a 25-minute diatribe about how he is the single greatest creation in the history of animation.
That's possible.
So it was more for us than it was for it was more to save Andrew from himself than it was for us.
I would not have voted for him. I actually watched the Black Cauldron on your recommendation, and I just said wow.
Whoa, let's time out here. Let's talk for a second.
We owe him one. We owe him one, okay?
No, I want to talk about this. So, honest opinion, Greg.
So my problem with the Horn King was he had no presence in the film at all. Like he did not play into anything, and all the powers that he was supposed to have had, you never really saw. And so I think that other people kind of proved themselves on screen more.
I don't disagree. Yeah. And to be honest, the book is actually similar, believe it or not.
But he's got a lot of power. Let me tell you, look it up on the Disney Wiki. He is a powerful guy.
They do talk about him quite a bit. All right, I'm sorry, derailed.
Sorry. So my actual pick for this was Shan Yu from Mulan.
Great villain. Great.
And I made this pick, and then I watched Mulan this weekend to make sure that I wasn't crazy. And I think as much as anything, it has to do with the animation style of him. As soon as he comes on screen, you instantly know, oh, this isn't going to go well for everyone else.
That's true.
No, he's an excellent villain. Excellent. He did very well in our Villains Battle Royal.
He did. He made it to, like, I want to say at least the final 8.
Yeah, I think it might even. Yeah, I mean, we had Ursula, Horn King, Maleficent. I forget who the 4th in our final 4 was. I'd have to go back and listen. I know we had
Mordu.
Yeah, Mordu. I think. Are we going to talk about Mordu in a second, Drew?
At all? Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Well, no. I mean, I'll tell you what. I almost went Lady Tremaine. She's trying to figure it out. I mean,
she's next level. That's true.
She is next level. Next level, just chilling. Has pretty much a slave cleaning her house. I mean, pretty legit. But no, Bub, it was between two people, and Mordu is one of them. But there's no better villain than Gaston, because he's Gaston.
Wow. Can I just, for 1 second, let me tell you, I'm going to shock the world here, guys. It's the first time in 48 episodes I'm in 100% agreement with Andrew.
Yeah, so there's nobody like Gaston.
Nah, he's incredible. The guy eats 4 dozen eggs every morning.
He is incredible.
I mean, it's gross.
I'll tell you what, they did cast him well in the live action. That was about the only person they casted well.
Yeah, I mean
I agree
we've had our issues. We've had our issues with the live action Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if we've talked about them too much, but I've got my own set of problems where we've talked about it offline, Drew. I know, where I feel like it's a Hogwarts presentation of it. When I see Emma Watson, I just get taken back to her being in Harry Potter, and it's like it's a stage production from Hogwarts. So it's another story for another day. But this will make it very easy. I agree with you 100%. I think Gaston is a great villain. I think this list, other than Prince Hans, is a list of great villains.
Absolutely.
How somebody looks at this list and picks Prince Hans, I will never know. But I'm not gonna bring anybody down for it, Jordana. I'm not. I think it's
No,
it's
you
your
already did.
prerogative.
I think it's done.
If you think, okay. Moving on. Best song. Best song. Tough category here, guys, I know, and I didn't. Obviously, there's some exclusions from this list, and there's for some reason
the list. There was one issue here. I didn't see any Phil Collins in here.
Okay,
and that hurt me.
Is Tarzan a princess movie?
Tarzan or Brother Bear is not, but
is Brother Bear a princess movie? Okay.
I was hoping you could somehow get it in there.
Tell you what, I'll let you do a random House of Mouse on time on Phil Collins Disney songs, and you can just have at it.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
Maybe
obviously, I don't know if it'll need an episode, maybe a bonus episode. Maybe you can sing karaoke to Phil Collins.
Oh boy.
For some reason, the only film on this list, I believe, that got more than one song is Enchanted, which I looked at afterwards and said that is stunning to me based on the amount of music in these movies. But this wasn't necessarily about every song from each of the movies. It was more about a princess moment with the song. And early on, it was very, very tough. I know Jordana's a big Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs fan, but Someday My Prince Will Come, obviously from that film, is not, it's iconic in a way, I guess, but it's just, it's very old-fashioned. Once Upon a Dream from Sleeping Beauty, A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes from Cinderella. They're all relics of their time, I think, and ultimately not terrible songs, but songs that are, obviously there are better songs in each of those movies, but it wasn't necessarily about the princess, and that's what I kind of tried to do with it when you question why certain songs are on the list and other ones aren't. So like we said, Someday My Prince Will Come, Once Upon a Dream, and A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes. Then we get into A Whole New World from Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid, Colors of the Wind, the most redeeming quality aspect from Pocahontas, Reflection from Mulan, I See the Light from Tangled, Down in New Orleans from Princess and the Frog. Now, Isaac, I will tell you, Princess and the Frog, I could have put the whole soundtrack on here, but as I just explained, it would have been very hard for me to pick one from that, so I did go with that, but I will tell you that Princess and the Frog, if you guys haven't seen it, has a killer soundtrack. We'll get How Far I'll Go from Moana, Ever Ever After from Enchanted, That's How You Know from Enchanted, which again, Enchanted, the only film on here that got 2 songs. Touch the Sky from Brave, which is a low-key, I think people don't appreciate Brave's soundtrack, but they are, it's a very good soundtrack. So, and then for the first time in forever from Frozen, Frozen was very tough. Again, since Anna was the main focus of the princess aspect of it, to really pick a song, obviously it's very easy to pick Let It Go, but it's not an Anna song, so we didn't go that route. So, Jordana, surprise me and tell me you did not pick Someday My Prince Will Come.
I did not.
Okay, great.
So this one was an easy pick for me. I went with Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
And this song, like, I have probably 4 different versions of this song that I listen to on a weekly basis on my playlist and stuff. But it just holds a special place in my heart because this was the last song that my husband and I danced to at our wedding. Was this song. So this one always will hold a special place in my heart.
So would you say that guy is Beast or more Prince Adam?
Do I have to answer that?
Yeah, no, I know he listens. No, he listens to show comments on stuff. So okay.
There's a video of me somewhere on Facebook dancing to this, and it is at the end of the night at my wedding, and I still have about 3 beer cans in my hand somehow.
Find that video.
I thought I was Belle. Let's just say that.
Excellent. We all.
Yes. That's my pick.
So, Greg, take us away, pal. What do you got?
I went with "Part of Your World" from The Little Mermaid. I think they're all good songs. I don't know, maybe it was just a whim, but that was the one that I went with. I think it kind of sets the movie going into the next phase of where the story's headed.
Mm. Yeah, no complaints there. I was going to go with the extremely uncomfortable, date rapey Kiss the Girl, but I went with Part of Your World instead. It seemed like the safer choice on this list. Isaac, what do you got?
Well, going back to the fact that you could pick nearly every song from its soundtrack, and because jazz is an American original and renowned the world over, I have to go with Down in New Orleans and every song from Princess and the Frog. But when I look at this list and I see all these titles, and I can immediately think of their themes and being in a park. And when you hear these themes in a show like Fantasmic or over here in California Adventure at World of Color, when you hear these themes start playing, all the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and you really are taken back. So these are all very powerful, powerful songs. But Princess and the Frog, it's jazz. You can't go wrong with jazz.
You can't. It was hard for me. I really wanted to put every song from that soundtrack on this list, but that would have clearly been showing favoritism, and we're about equal opportunity of fencing here, so we are not going to do that. Andrew, what do you got here? You're not a big music guy. You like Phil Collins, but there's no Phil Collins on the list. So
this is a great list. Like everyone's saying, it's hard to choose one. But I think what really put one song above the rest was a little rendition that you and I did on New Year's Eve, Bub, that we went live on Facebook for. So I'd be remiss not to choose A Whole New World as my favorite and best song.
I mean, that's a great song. It's a great song. I can't ridicule you for that. If you had picked, Once Upon a Dream, I probably would have reached through the computer and slapped you, but ultimately you didn't, so I guess we'll save that for the next question. For me, I was torn. I was torn. But just like earlier, when I went best movie with Tangled, I'm also gonna go I See the Light from Tangled, which Zachary Levi and Mandy Moore do a great job with the song. It's a fun song. It's a powerful song, not quite the level of Beauty and the Beast powerful. Beauty and the Beast was a close third for me, because Down in New Orleans would have been the pick if it wasn't for I See the Light. But I See the Light for me, and I realized that I have a Tangled and Princess and the Frog bias when I think about these princess movies, which it's fine. It is what it is. They're both great films, but no disrespect to anything else. How far I'll go from Moana. Also, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention that song. And Reflection from Mulan is a near perfect pop song. For even if it wasn't from a movie, you would know that song. So it's one of those that I think has stood the test of time, as it were, from Mulan. Moving on to question number 8. Best live-action princess film. This one got a little dicey, but we went Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil. You could argue those are princess films, but for the sake of this conversation and exercise, we're considering them that. Cinderella, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and Enchanted, which, again, if you have not seen Enchanted, or you don't really know, it's a fantastic movie. So I put it in Best Live Action because predominantly it is live action. There is some animation, beginning and end, and a little bit in the middle, but Enchanted got Best Live Action on the list of Best Live Action films. So, Jordana, take us away.
I went with Aladdin on this one, and I thought, I looked at the list, and I'm not a fan of live action movies from, them coming from animation. I just think that they should keep the masterpieces as they are. However, I watched Aladdin multiple times, the live action one, and I absolutely love this live action one. So this was the one I had to go with, and I think
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, I just tell you about Disney's about making money, but we don't want to go there. And
so I actually have an interesting question for Jordana, or for you guys in general, because we've heard that tone a lot, that it cheapens the massive. Why does it necessarily take away from what the animated movie is? If they're separate entities, it's not like you can't watch Aladdin animated. It's right there on Disney Plus, right next to the live action. I think it enhances the story a little bit. It's a different telling, except for Lion King, which was a virtual shot-for-shot remake. But Aladdin, I think they're not two different movies, but they tell different stories, where I think Aladdin, the animated film, was much more Aladdin-centric, where Aladdin, the live action, was a little bit more about Jasmine and her struggles and less about Aladdin. I mean, obviously Aladdin played a huge part in it, but I really feel like they're almost two different movies. And they tell a similar story, which I think why both Maleficent movies are as good as they are, because they tell a different side of the story.
And I think that's where you nailed it, Bub, right? So like you said, Maleficent is cool because it's like the same world, that same story's happening, but they took the camera and put it somewhere else, right?
Correct.
I think that people get held up with Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella and things like that because you're always going to have that comparison factor. You're always going to say nobody's ever going to replace Robin Williams, and no one's going to be able to portray that.
I was stunned at how good Will Smith was.
I did too, and no secret here. My favorite on this list is Aladdin. That is what I went with here. But no, I think it's the people fall in that trap of, and to your point, I 100% agree. You need to be able to pull them apart and separate and say it's okay. First, it's okay. Calm down. Yep. They're two different entities. Let's not try to compare apples to oranges or apples to apples, however you want to look at it. But absolutely, I think it's okay. It's an okay thing to do.
Yeah. So I will tell you also, because I'm going to clear the decks. I also picked Aladdin. Cinderella was a close second for me, but I loved Aladdin and everything about it. So I'm going to go to Greg first, because I see on the list that he might also share our opinion. And then we're going to give the floor to Isaac to talk about what I think is a criminally underrated film. But Greg, are you leaning where I think you're leaning here?
I am. I'm also going with Aladdin, similar to Jordana and kind of the conversation. I more so, I haven't watched any of the live action ones. I actually just watched Aladdin a couple weeks ago because my kids wanted to watch it and was pleasantly surprised with it. And it's not that I don't want them to make these movies or I have hatred to the movies. It's just, if I want to watch Aladdin, I'm going to watch the one that I know and that I like. I just have no need for these. So they're not drawing me in to go see these.
That's a fair point.
And real quick, I don't think I have a hatred for live action movies. I think the thing that I didn't like was that it was like every couple months there was another live action. It seemed like they were announcing another one coming out, where I think that they were missing out on the original content, and everybody was like, all right, I've kind of already have the gist of this story. Like, I want something new. So that's where that's where I was kind of like, I was over it. I was over the live action.
We call that printing money.
Yes,
I mean, Jordana, you have to excuse my co-host here. He's a stockholder, so he loves these movies because they all do remarkably well. But I would just tell you, be prepared for more of these in the nearest future. That you're not going to see them. You're not going to see the end of live action remakes, which I think makes Isaac's pick a little bit more genuine because it is not a remake. I don't believe, looking at the list, it is not a remake. So if he goes the way that he was initially going. So, Isaac, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, I'm not a fan of any of these remakes from a viewer standpoint, but as a shareholder, I do appreciate their bottom line results.
There you go. They're printing money.
And I got to say, personally, I'm sorry to disagree, but Aladdin, we watched that recently when it hit on Disney Plus, and it just seems so shallow. And if they just decided to like come up with a new script with the same characters and not have so many callbacks, I think that would have been great. But it was just such a pale comparison to the original. I found myself cringing a lot watching that film. And that's why I chose Enchanted, because it's an original idea and it's totally on its own and it deserves to be a live action film. And I really enjoyed it. Again, super surprised when I watched it how much I enjoyed it. High quality, great film, and it's a good live action film, and it doesn't need anything else to help prop it along.
No, yeah, it is one of those that is low key. I don't think it gets the love, as it were, that a lot of other movies do. It kind of flew under the radar, but it is a well done movie. Great cast, excellent cast when you look at it. So now we're gonna do a little bit in the parks for a minute. Favorite princess to meet in the parks. Jordana, who is your favorite live princess to meet?
I went with Cinderella on this one. In a lot of my picks are just personally, but like my son, when we took him for his first trip in September, the PhotoPass people caught this amazing picture of him just like looking at her, and he was like head over heels in love with her. And just like the picture that they caught, it's literally one of my favorite memories, one of my favorite pictures to look back at. But that's, I think, and just her interaction with him, and she kept calling him Prince Charming, or you look like Prince Charming, and it was totally adorable. So that was mine.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. And I'm sorry, guys, I should just, for the listener, understand that we have Belle, Cinderella, Jasmine, Aurora, Merida, Pocahontas, Snow White, Tiana, Rapunzel, Moana. Maybe I said Moana twice. It was Merida the first time. Elena of Avalor, Ariel, and Anna as our options for meet and greets. Yeah, I can't argue with Cinderella. I think you'll see a lot of the picks might be personal interactions and experiences that we've had with them. I know my pick was based on that as well. So, Greg, nope, I'm sorry. We'll go with Isaac first because we kind of gave him Enchanted to himself. So, Isaac, who do you got here?
So I love the princess meet and greets again because I have a little girl, and even my big guy, my little guy, he really enjoys meeting the princesses in the park. It's one of the best things you can do, and always fun to turn the corner and find one of them. But for me, it's Anna, because our first trip to Disneyland in, was it 13, 14, was right when Frozen came out. The meet and greet line for Anna and Elsa was 4 hours, and I did it because I wanted my little baby to meet her favorite princess at the time. We got up to the front, and she had a total meltdown and didn't want to have anything to do with it. I laughed so hard. We walked out, and a cast member said, "Hey, come back in 30. Come in through the back, and you can meet the girls anytime you want." And it was really cool, and they were great. So, gotta love Anna.
Excellent. No, it's a good pick there. Anna and Elsa, to a point, are fantastic to meet. And I think a lot of the quote-unquote casting they do for the young ladies that play the characters, they do a great job of capturing what those characters are and who they are. And like I said, I think a lot of what you'll see on this category is in regards to personal memories you have here. So, Greg, anything for you standing out with the princess meet and greets?
So, admittedly, I have not met a lot of the princesses, so I had to defer to my daughter on this one, and Ariel was her favorite interaction. I will say that we did book Cinderella's Royal Table for our trip this summer, so perhaps after that I will have something more to offer on the subject.
Nice.
Well, I will tell you, Ariel's got a solid meet and greet location. She's got her own little.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, so that's I can understand. That's a good.
Ariel's Grotto.
Yes. So that's yeah. I mean, I don't have any problem with that. Ariel's a great princess to meet. And Drew, where are you going? Because I know you're a big fan of the princess dining that we talk about every episode. So
I'm stepping away from that, and I'm heading over to Epcot, and I'm heading over to the France Pavilion. And I am going to be waiting in line by the France bridge over there to see Belle in her blue dress.
That's rare. I like that.
It's rare.
The specificity of that.
It's specific. It's cool. She usually it's funny because she usually has her blue and that white dress, and she usually carries around like a book. And I love playing with me and the actual princesses or the princes. I hate to say not the costume characters, but I hate to when you see the live actors. I love playing with them in the way where you can kind of throw, like if for example, Belle, she's carrying a book all the time. You can say, "Oh, hey, Belle, what are you reading?" And like she goes into a full story about what she's reading and why she's reading it and how she went to the library early in this morning or the bookstore and she got it. And you can do that with any princess. And Greg, I encourage you when you go, think about some fun, quirky questions on one or two of the princesses and see what they say, because it's part of the amazing Disney experiences when you throw these things at them. Pocahontas, you could say, hey, where's Miko? And they're quick and they're snappy and they'll say, oh yeah, Miko's off chasing some rabbits or something. Like they're snappy and right to the point. Like they have different options for it no matter what the situation is. It should be a hot day out and someone will say, well, Miko doesn't like the heat. So it's funny to test them and see that stuff. I've seen Ariel talk about Sebastian or Flounder about it. I've seen Jasmine talk about Raja. So it's definitely. I've seen Merida talk about her crazy brothers. It's think of a fun little quirky question and throw it at them and see how they respond. But for some reason, the Belle one is a very rare and hard one to see, and when you do, it makes it feel a little bit more special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I won't disagree with that. Belle's a good princess to meet. For me, it's Tiana, and it goes back to an experience with my oldest. He just turned 7 earlier this week. This was his first trip. I think he was turning 3, and he had his little autograph book, and he was a little apprehensive at first with the characters. And when he presented the autograph book to Tiana, she says, "Oh, you brought me a new cookbook," which I thought, like to Andrew's point, was absolutely like nowhere else. When you go to a meet and greet, now let's say you're at a Six Flags and you meet Green Lantern, you're probably not going to talk about the lore of Green Lantern with that guy. He's a summer intern making pennies on the dollar and getting fed hot dogs. He probably doesn't care about Green Lantern in any way other than collecting a paycheck at Disney. And I don't mean to demean that. I'm just trying to tell you the difference between a meet and greet with Six Flags as opposed to like a Disney meet and greet where you're getting that story. And Tiana, she was just so lovely, just a really, really sweet girl. And she just took the time. She could tell Zach was a little bit apprehensive at first, and she got down to his level, and he opened right up. And I will tell you also, Rapunzel's a great meet and greet as well. Occasionally you will catch her with nude slippers, as it were, where she looks barefoot, because most of the movie she is barefoot. So the attention to detail in the character presentation is exceptional with a lot of the princesses. And I think, to Andrew's point again, I think you get a certain amount of interaction with a live actor or actress than you do with a costumed character. Tinkerbell's another one. Great character to meet. Again, I couldn't fit her into princesses, but Tinkerbell, low-key, great meet and greet if you can grab it, because she gets a big line pretty much throughout the day.
She does.
We are going to go best princess park area. This one changed quite a bit throughout the week. Initially, we had Sleeping Beauty's castle, Cinderella Castle on there as well. I did take them off, if only because I felt like, despite their being iconic to the parks they're in, I don't necessarily, despite your efforts at California, obviously you can walk through, and they have the walk through the dungeons and everything, and Cinderella Castle we've talked about, where the murals, the murals above the wall, the tile murals and stuff, and everything like that. So I was hesitant to put them on the list because they're so iconic. It'd be hard to say that something is better than Sleeping Beauty Castle or Cinderella Castle, to be perfectly honest. I think we'd be doing it a disservice if we did that. So we went with just 4 this time. We get the Tangled Rest area over near A Small World, kind of around the corner from the castle there. Belle's Village in Fantasyland, New Fantasyland, which is pretty well done too. Princess Fairy Tale Hall, which is the main meet and greet in Fantasyland, and Norway/Arendelle over at Epcot. It's just one of those things that, despite it being Norway, it is very much Arendellian, if that's a word. So we're going to go with Best Princess Park Area. Jordana, what do you got?
I went with the Tangled Rest area for this one.
Oh, that's a good one.
They have the best bathrooms.
Yep,
it's nice and shady over there. It seems like there's a lot of chaos near Small World and Peter Pan. And then there's also the chaos coming from Haunted Mansion. So this is kind of like the break in between the two areas where everybody's kind of crowded at both sides, but here it's not so crowded. But yeah, so that's why I went with there, plus their bathroom.
And a lot of low-key great photo pass options over there as well.
Yes.
Over in Tangled. So really, really cool place if you haven't been over that way. Greg, what about you?
So I know there's mixed feelings on intellectual property in the parks, but I am going to go with Norway and Arendelle. I having not been to Epcot, before it kind of switched over to that, I don't know what it was like before, but I thought the integration of Frozen was excellent.
Yeah, it's well done. It's extremely unsatisfying for me to agree that it was well done, but in the instance of intertwining Arendelle with Norway, it's exceptionally well done. So I can't, as much as I want to, I'm not going to disagree with you there. Isaac, it looks as if you might be leaning the same way. What do you have there?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, we only have the one trip we took to Disney World last year, and we did spend a week there, though. But we definitely were impressed most of all with Norway. It was really, really neat, and it was a good way to. I think it's the second land as you get into the whole the lake there, the second country, and it was a really good way to enter the entire experience, and it was really well done on its own.
It is. Again, I begrudgingly will tell you that it is a very well done area. Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Norway stuff, but I'm going to go with Jordana here and say the Tangled Rest area. Because it has the best bathrooms. It has really good family bathrooms there. It has some nice shade in the area. It also has what we've talked about in our Hidden Treasure episodes back in the day, the hidden pastels. So while half of your family might be in the restroom, you're outside, there's a little something to do with one of your kids, is go look for the hidden pastels. I think there's 10 of them throughout the area. Super cool. And then you can see Maximus's horseshoes in the imprints. It's just, there's so much detailed for a restroom area. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. And even my daughter loves seeing the Tangled Tower, off in the distance, kind of. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I'm going Belle's Village. I just really enjoy that corner of Fantasyland. I really enjoy Beauty and the Beast as much as I do love Tangled. I will tell you that Belle's Village, I think, is extremely well done with the castle in the background. And you got the little, plaza where Gaston's Tavern is. There's the little bookshop that's not really a bookshop, but it is a bookshop. And the fountain. I really enjoy Belle's Village area of Fantasyland. So moving right along to the Best Princess sequel. So this is, I gotta think there's probably two on here that are the most popular. We will go Aladdin and the King of Thieves, Aladdin, The Return of Jafar, Belle's Magical Christmas, Cinderella, Dreams Come True, Cinderella, A Twist in Time, Mulan 2, Pocahontas 2, Journey to the New World, The Little Mermaid, Return to the Sea, The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning, Atlantis, Milo's Return, that's for Greg, and Frozen 2, which I think we know there are two heavyweights in this category, so let's not beat around the bush. Jordana, where you going?
I'm going Frozen 2.
Yep.
I just really enjoyed it. I thought the whole storyline was phenomenal. Like I was one of those people, I'm like, how are they going to one up the first movie? Because I thought it was just so great. And they knocked my socks off. They did great with it. So I really think, when it comes to sequels, they definitely did it justice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Greg, what about you?
So I didn't originally see Frozen 2 on the list, and
yeah, it was a late.
When I think of Disney princess sequels, I think of direct-to-video. So I think that one's kind of cheating because it got a full theatrical release.
Don't disagree with you.
I went with Aladdin: Return of Jafar as not only a good movie, but one that I didn't have to turn off 10 minutes into turning on because it was so bad.
probably deserved a theatrical release on its own, to be honest with you. Those were the two heavyweights, in case anybody was wondering. I really thought we would be between a lot of Frozen 2 and Aladdin the Return of Jafar as favorite sequels. So, The Return of Jafar, I'll be honest with you, great movie. So, well done. Isaac, where are we headed with you?
Well, I've never seen Return of a Jafar, and with that in consideration, the rest of these are hot garbage. So Frozen 2, man, these all watered down the entire Disney brand and were part of the really dark period for the company.
Wow, I mean, that's throwing haymakers. I like it. So, Drew, what about you here, bud?
The same thing. I mean, Frozen 2 is the obvious, but I'm not going to go Frozen 2, and I'm going to shock the world again, just like I did with Prince Eric. And might as well stay in that same theme because I'm going The Little Mermaid, not a sequel, but a prequel, Ariel's Beginning. It's a charm. It's a charm by far. It explains the history of, King Triton and his wife and what happened and Ariel and how she got to be where she was. Just a little backstory. I'm all for that backstory stuff. I'm a sucker for it. And maybe I probably would never have watched this, but now that my daughter loves it, I probably watched it half a dozen times and since Disney Plus has come out, and I'm a fan.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you're lucky I love your daughter. That's all I'm going to say. Because, all right, it's Frozen 2. You're right. Before I did the list, it was Aladdin and the Return of Jafar. When I added Frozen 2, it was easily Frozen 2. But Return of Jafar is just an incredible direct-to-video sequel. I really feel like they could have done something else with that movie. It's that well done. So, moving right along to Best Park Show slash Ride. So again, some late additions here, and I do apologize for that. We will start at the studios, which is Beauty and the Beast live on stage. We would go with the low-key Great Fantasmic. We would go Voyage of the Little Mermaid. That is the show at Hollywood Studios. We will do the new Beauty and the Beast sing-along at Epcot, which I don't know if any of us have actually seen yet. We will also go to the Frozen sing-along celebration, Snow White's Scary Adventures, because I knew Isaac was a West Coast guy, and he still might actually have that ride out there. Magic Carpets of Aladdin, which if any of you pick Magic Carpets of Aladdin, I'm off the show. Andrew can finish it out for me.
No, I believe that's one of my don'ts, so I would be off the show as well.
Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid, the ride at Magic Kingdom, which, according to the Disney Guys Uncensored, is the 10th best Disney ride on property. Frozen Ever After, and Enchanted Tales with Belle. Jordana, where are you going?
Magic Carpets. No, I'm just kidding. So I had a tough time with this one. I was kind of stuck in between two. Fantasmic. It's like one of my favorite nighttime shows. But I'm gonna have to go Frozen sing-along celebration.
Oh my god, that's just as bad, Jordana.
I love it though.
It's almost as bad. Probably worse.
I love everything about it. Frozen's one of my favorite movies, and I sit there and I sing my heart out, and I absolutely adore it.
I'm not getting into this. I think we did this 2 weeks ago. I can't do it.
We did. Yep. Nope. That's. I'm gonna go with that one, and I'm sticking with it.
All right. Move on.
You do you, Scotty P. You do you. Greg, where are you taking us?
Well, let me say it was a pleasure getting to talk with all of you. And before I get my lifetime ban from the show, let me try to make an argument for the Magic Carpets of Aladdin.
Wow.
Greg, you're my new best friend. Let's do this.
The first time that I went to Disney was the first time my daughter went to Disney, and she was just about to turn 2. So she wasn't riding a lot of things, but she absolutely loved that ride. And the bonus of it not being popular is that there weren't a lot of people in line. So we went for one day, and we probably rode that for an hour at the end of the day, nonstop. And just every time she rode it, she would laugh nonstop the whole time she was on it. And then 2 years later, we took my son for his first trip, and the same thing. Getting the chance to have the carpet go up and have us get spit on by the camels while we're in the ride. He thought it was amazing. And for that, I am going to nominate that purely based on personal experience.
See, we can't take that from you. Just like when Jordana says her favorite thing in the world is the Dino Land Carnival games. Everyone has those emotional connections, which we respect here. But I agree. We all have memories. Like a
jerk, Fred. Thanks.
I don't disagree that they are oddly placed in the park, and yes, it's a cheap skin of the Dumbo ride, but
Hey, you know what? To each his own. To each his own, and if it means that much to you, I'm okay with it, because you seem like an okay guy, so I'm going to allow it this time. You would have picked Fantasmic, though, I feel. You would have been a Fantasmic guy.
Yeah, it's the best of everything. It's fireworks, it's live action, it's princesses, it's Disney characters. Yeah, it was a great second option until I saw that.
Fair enough. I'm glad we could help you out with that. Isaac, what do you got?
So Frozen Ever After was a thrilling ride, really well done, had a great time on it, and I didn't actually realize, look at the list again, that it's not my favorite, but it would have been my first choice, except for Under the Sea, Journey of Little Mermaid in California Adventure is always a walk-on, and it's 10 minutes in air conditioning sitting down. So I have been on that ride literally more than any other ride at any park. I probably go on it each time I visit 5 times easily. And I always have a good time in it. And then when we went to Disney World, the line queue you guys got is so much better. It's almost amazing. A ride to itself. It's really amazing. Yeah. So I really appreciate that ride for a princess level. That's my choice.
Agreed. Yep. That's the ride.
Yeah. Drew, what do you got?
So, Bob, me and you have done a lot of crazy adventures, a lot of fun vacations together. And ever since we went to the one who shall not be named Universal Studios and did our Poseidon's Adventures walk-through tour, I was always looking for something of a similar caliber of a walk-through attraction. Until I went on Enchanted Tales with Belle. God. And I love it. I think it's awesome. And a lot of people don't even know it's really there or what it is. But what it is exactly that. It is a walk-through experience of the castle and the library and all other portions where you have your tour guide that tells the stories. You get to see Belle. She reads a story to you. It's just awesome. You go through Belle's cottage, Maurice. I don't know. There's something about it that I think it's very well done. I like it. I'm a fan. Yeah, I mean, you get to see the characters. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You get the attraction and Belle.
You were the knight once.
I was the knight. I was that kind of sucked because I had to stand there the whole time and couldn't sit my kids.
Yes, so I agree with Isaac here. Under the Sea, Journey of Little Mermaid. Please, it's not even that close. It's a top 10 ride. There, I said
top 10 ride.
A top 10 ride. Drop the mic. Moving on. Number 13. Boy, I promise we're almost done with these questions, guys. So if you've held on this long, we still have 2 more that are just really going to knock your socks off because we start to play with the space-time continuum. So, best opportunity for a 180. Which of the following would you have preferred to happen? Alternate universe type stuff. If you followed any of that, let's go. Belle and Gaston ending up together. Jasmine actually falling in love with Jafar. Pocahontas staying with Kocoum. Mulan and Shan Yu falling in love, which is just mind-blowing on many levels. Princess Eric actually marrying Vanessa. The glass slipper fitting one of the stepsisters. And Prince Naveen marrying Charlotte, but Tiana still gets to keep the restaurant. So,
who the hell came up with this question?
I want to say it was you, and you put me to work on it. So, Jordana, where are you going with this?
So for me, I wanted to do the glass slipper fitting one of the stepsisters. And I think that this would end up being like really, really good because no, but listen, because you see how much they were already fighting with each other. Imagine if one actually had the slipper fit and the other one would be so mad. Or does the whole family just move in the castle? Like what ends up happening?
I was proud of this one when I put it on the list. I got to tell you, I was very proud of this when I put it on the list. Of them, it seems the most plausible, and I got to tell you, I love it. I love where you're going. I love where you're going with it.
Right. So sounds like a Lifetime movie that turns into like, she killed her sister type thing.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
Is it any worse than Pocahontas staying in the New World? Pocahontas staying where she was.
What does that do for Cinderella, the poor girl?
Oh,
yeah, she's out. She's out.
Left behind.
Yeah.
So Isaac, where are you going with this?
Well, if the question is which would you have preferred to happen, and I have to pick one because these are all pretty ridiculous, I would say Naveen marrying Charlotte because Charlotte's not a bad person. I mean, she's spoiled. No. That's her dad's fault, but she loves Tiana. She's fine, and Tiana will be okay. She'll work really hard, and she'll find another guy out there who'll treat her just as well as Naveen would.
So stunning.
Positive attitude.
I have had this conversation with my wife a dozen times.
Of course you have. Isn't everybody with their wife?
It's just one of those things, because when you think about characters in movies, there's always an ulterior motive. That is as pure a friendship in a Disney movie that you will ever see, Charlotte and Tiana. It's unbelievable how that friendship is developed, and it's crazy to me, which again harkens back to how great that movie actually is. That there was no malicious intent with Charlotte, and in fact, Charlotte steps aside when she does Tiana the solid. I mean, that's a great film. And that's a great pick. I'm glad you went there because that's an excellent story. And you're right, Tiana would probably make out better just owning the restaurant herself. But that's neither here nor there. Greg, where are you going with this?
All right, here's where I redeem myself. So in looking through the list, I was just kind of picturing scenarios, and the one that just made absolutely no sense to me was Mulan and Shan Yu falling in love. And
zero sense. You're welcome.
The reason I love this scenario is because where I went with it was all of a sudden you have a story where Mulan and Shan Yu have teamed up and are just wreaking havoc across Asia. And it just is a completely different story. And I thought that would be an interesting take on a Disney princess story.
Yeah, it would be.
I agree. I mean, these are out of the world. We should have done an episode on just this.
We could have.
So, Drew, where are you going? Are you going with Prince Eric and Vanessa?
No, I wish, but I don't like Vanessa. I'm going Belle and Gaston, because if you can't have Prince Eric, who else do you want next? Gaston. I mean, who would want to see a sequel of Gaston or little Gastons running around? I mean, I'm all about that right there. So that's where I'm going.
Okay. That's okay. Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in her existence on this show, I am agreeing with Jordana. I think the glass slipper fitting one of the stepsisters would be an amazing story to tell. A fascinating social study look at it in terms of, like, you're right, what does that do to Cinderella? Does she stay the handmaiden to them? Does she just move in and she just is cleaning up the bigger castle? It's unbelievable. And Andrew, you harken back to Lady Tremaine, always in control. I mean, this is the ultimate power move if one of the stepsisters it fits. This is a stunning. I was so proud of this one when I put it down because it's just like I loved it so much, and I'm like, that's the one for me. So I can't believe this, but I agree with Jordana 100% on that one.
Wow.
So we have reached the end. We have reached the end of this magical journey, and before we get into this question, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming on. Isaac and Greg, thank you guys. I know Andrew thanked you guys earlier, but thank you guys for listening like you do. Greg, thanks for the logos. They are great. You got to see them on some of the merchandise that we have too. They look great. You knocked it out of the park. Yeah. So and Isaac, again, Yeah, thanks, man. We appreciate you holding up the West Coast end of our bargain. So that's I would love to have you on and talk some more about some of these. Specifically, we could probably do a watch along with Princess and the Frog. I think that'd be great. So this one here, and obviously Jordana, you know, it's out of love that we bash you every time you say something. Just so you know. So which princess fairy tale world would you like to live in? You could pick Agrabah from Aladdin, Arendelle from Frozen, 7th century-ish China from Mulan, Andalasia from Enchanted, provincial France from Beauty and the Beast, 1920s jazz era New Orleans, Atlantica from The Little Mermaid, 16th century Germany from Snow White, 17th century France from Sleeping Beauty, 19th century France from Cinderella, medieval Scotland for Brave, the Kingdom of Corona from Tangled. Well, maybe that's poorly named right now with everything going on in the world. Polynesia from Moana, Atlantis from Atlantis, and the Virginia colony from Pocahontas, which just seems ripe with smallpox, but I think we'll hear about that in a minute. Jordana, where are you going?
I want to live in Atlantica from The Little Mermaid, only because I want to be a mermaid.
Some modifications going on there. Might be the only one that requires some modifications.
Exactly. But I think that would be a cool fairy tale land to live in. World.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, I like that.
It's probably better than 16th century Germany, so that's a win. Or 7th century China. Well, listen, okay, we don't talk about that, okay? It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club, okay? It just happens, okay? Greg, where are we headed with you, bud?
We are going to the smallpox-ridden Virginia colony from Pocahontas.
Wow, you have a angry smallpox. I love it.
Every era has its problems.
That is true.
I don't know why. If you believe in past lives, I feel like I belong in those colonial times. That's just always the era that I feel, when I see it represented on TV, I'm like, that's where I belong. That's where I should be. And it has really nothing to do with Pocahontas and everything to do with the time period of America.
Oh.
So you're telling me that you didn't want to go for 7th century China?
There's problems there too with the invasions, as you saw in the movie.
Correct, but okay. So what if I give you 7th century China with Mulan and Shan Yu falling in love, and you were like a commander in their military? Would that change your answer?
I was going to say that's likely to end worse for me if they team up.
Yeah, I would not want to be under that rule.
Oh, fair enough. Andrew, I'm sorry, Isaac, where are we going with you? Because I think if I can make an educated guess.
No surprise.
I think me and you would be sharing an apartment over near Tiana's restaurant, to be honest. But where are you headed?
If the question is, where do you want to live? How does one live? You have to eat. And if you're going to be eating, you may as well be the best food on earth in New Orleans, 1920s, good music. Can't beat it.
No, I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about it in a second, but I think we all know that I feel the same way. Andrew, where are you headed?
So, let me say it's hard not to pick the Polynesian because, nothing better than sitting on the beach all day. But there's really only one answer. Medieval Scotland. I mean, think about it. I just want to sit there with a turkey leg and a large pitcher of a pint of beer and just trying to hang out all day. Don't shoot some arrows, and that's it. Call it a day.
Would you want to be a medieval knight spreading your seed throughout the land, Andrew?
Well, let's not go there, but I'd definitely be known as the destroyer of hope.
Andrew, you are the destroyer of hope every time we record a show, just so you know. You already have that nickname.
Thank you.
Yeah, clearly it's 1920s jazz era New Orleans. It's not even really that close. Similar to what Greg touched on with the Virginia colony, and he just feels like he'd be in the colonial times. I feel like there are certain times in this country's history that, I mean, maybe not the prohibition aspect of it, but man, 1920s jazz era in New Orleans, just hanging out at the scat clubs and just, sailing the river boats. I just really, there's something very romantic about 1920s jazz era in New Orleans. So that's where I would be. We'd be getting beignets, me and Isaac, every day, and it'd be fantastic. We'd be great. We'd be in the Mardi Gras parade, and I think that's what we'd be doing. So
the first mint julep is on me.
Excellent. If we can only harness the power of time travel. If anyone has a spare DeLorean out there, please let us know. That is going to wrap up the main topic. Thank you all for coming on the show.
Again, we want to thank both Greg and Isaac for coming on tonight, and Jordana. It was absolutely a blast having you guys on. We hope you guys had fun as well. And we'll have to do it again sometime in the future. But with that, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Disney Princesses Roundtable Discussion. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, anything like that, please send us an email at the Disney Guys Uncensored @gmail.com. Remember to head on over to Facebook, give us a look around. You can pretty much find us there by searching us. As always, as I like to say, Patreon, head on over there. For as little as $2 a month, you can help support us, keep the lights on. And that's over at patreon.com/the Disney Guys Uncensored. And as always, merchandise, if you want to head over to the disneyguys.redbubble.com, you get some super cool stuff, shirts, stickers, mugs, maybe a plushie of Bubba, who knows. But if you want to really help us, tell a friend, spread the word, tell people how cool we are and that you listen to us, and they should have a listen as well. So we hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks for listening to The Disney Guys Uncensored.
May Walt Disney World bring joy and inspiration and new knowledge to all who come to this happy place.